Bride honors heart donor at wedding, and thought of her while walking down the aisle. Desiree's life was short-lived, but there's a way that it is continuing on. Catherine Houghton, who got married after a life-saving transplant, tells PRPL. Walking down the aisle on her wedding day 3 months ago, an Ohio bride wasn't just thinking about her soon-to-be husband, but about the woman who literally gave her a heart. I'm just grateful, the newlywed tells PRPL of donor Desiree Burge. She had a very helping heart. And after having met Desiree's father and stepmother, Catherine Schroeder, now Catherine Hammond, is really trying to live the best life for both of them. It's not just me anymore, says Hammond, 23. I work to make sure that I am thinking of others, helping others, making sure that I'm getting my mission out there of high health. Hammond was barely a month old when doctors discovered she had a hole in her heart and an abnormal valve. She was diagnosed with Schön's complex, which affects how blood flows into and out of the left side of the heart. Growing up, hospitals were all I knew, she says. Although when she was younger, Hammond had more than 20 surgeries and procedures, including 4 open heart surgeries, pacemakers and pacemaker replacements. She says that having a heart transplant was never an option. You want to avoid it at all costs, she says. They always wanted to try and surgically fix what they could before ever looking at transplant. During her first year at Kent State University in 2018, she met and started dating fellow freshman Ian Hammond. And over winter break, after scheduling a pacemaker replacement surgery, he stood by her side as she was diagnosed with heart failure. He was very supportive about something a lot of people would be scared away by, she says. It wasn't easy. There were tough days. People told her she should drop out of college, but she was determined to stay in school and graduate. We would fear for what the future was, but we knew that we had to just pray and have faith and know that I'm a fighter and I haven't ever given up and I never plan on it, she says. He is very supportive of making sure I continue to live life. But also, he makes sure I take rest when needed and watches out for my health. When he proposed in November 2020, Hammond says neither of us knew the future. What we didn't know is that we wanted to do it together, she adds. He always reminds me of how strong I am and how far I've gotten, and that there's nothing that we can't face together. Months later, she was officially placed on the transplant waiting list in June 2021. True to her word, Hammond graduated from college in May 2022. Less than 2 months later, she was admitted to the Cleveland Clinic. After 35 days of waiting, they found a heart and her transplant surgery was scheduled for July 25. After she woke from the surgery, she FaceTimed her mother and fiancé. She felt better than she could ever remember. I never knew what a healthy heart was. My heart has always been sick, she explains. For me, the transplant wasn't, oh, I'm going back to normal. The transplant was an, oh my gosh, I am living a life that I've never been able to have before. A few months later, she wrote a letter to her heart donor's family, and while she was getting ready for her rehearsal dinner, she'd learned they were willing to meet her. I just immediately started bawling, she says. For me, it was a sign of a blessing. I knew this was what's meant to be. She got married on May 20 at her home church, Church of the Lakes in Jackson, Ohio, surrounded by friends and family. It truly was a celebration not only of a beautiful marriage, but also a celebration of life, and being able to get to the wedding was a huge thing, she says. I thought of my donor as I walked down the aisle because I knew that I was walking down because of them. Additionally, there was a memorial in honor of the woman who literally gave her a heart. Desiree's life was short-lived, but there's a way that it is continuing on, she says.